Greetings, everyone. Howdy, I'm Addison Pollock. I'm the Director of Community Engagement with AARP Indiana. It's good to be with you all whenever you're watching this, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this at a later date. You are attending the State of Age-Friendly event. This is the second iteration of this. This is the sequel. So we all know that sequels sometimes are not as good as the originals, but I assure you today you are in for a treat because we are going to be hearing from a couple communities, age-friendly communities in the state of Indiana. Different communities. So we're going to be hearing from St. Joseph County. We're going to speak with Frank Fotia, who is the Constituent Services Manager with the St. Joseph County government. So he was instrumental in making sure that that county became the first age-friendly county in Indiana. So I'm really excited to speak with Frank. We're going to be learning about where they are in the process and where they plan to go next. Then we're going to hear from Amy Hartzog and Tim Brown, both from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Amy is the Greenways and Trails Program Manager with the city. So she is the staff liaison for that advisory council who is overseeing the age-friendly process. Tim Brown is an excellent AARP Indiana volunteer and a local businessman. He's based in Fort Wayne. He has been the chair of the advisory committee, and I've kind of sat in on a lot of those meetings, just watching it develop because I work in Fort Wayne. It's one of my target communities. So I'm really excited to speak with both of these or all of these folks today. And we will be working our way through some of the questions that come up when it comes to starting this process. This was new for all of these folks. And like I mentioned last time, we only have 4 age-friendly communities in the state of Indiana. So we're learning this as we go, and it's actually going really well. And part of what we're doing today and part of what we did last time is this program is intended to encourage you to, to check this program out, to consider it for your community. If you're interested in becoming an age-friendly community, please reach out to me. You can shoot me an email at apollock@aarp.org, and we can discuss how we might pursue your community becoming or entering the age-friendly network. So I first want to plug that we did record the first version of this on August 31st. You can find that in the video section of our Facebook page if you're watching this on Facebook. So please be sure to check that out. I also want to remind viewers that they will be able to ask questions live today. So if you have a question at any time throughout our broadcast, please put it in the comment section. Producer Dan is behind the scenes. He'll be able to throw your question up on the screen, and I will take those directly and try to answer them as best as I can. So if you want more information on the age-friendly program, you can go to www.aarp.org/livable. This falls under our Livable Communities program. It's a program within a program. The Age-Friendly States and Communities Network. So there's a whole array of information on that website. You can really get lost just digging through all the great resources that we have available. And I highly encourage you to do so because this is a really great initiative, and it really helps focus your work and really put an aging lens on things that your community is likely already doing. So without further ado, I want to revisit some slides here. I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to revisit some key information that we talked about last time. Just a minute here as I navigate the sharing screen share function. And this way we can get everyone caught up from where we left off. This is a little bit of a little crash course. So really, if you missed the first version of this or the first episode of this program. I highly recommend that you go back and watch it. We provide some really good information of, like, the purpose and why communities might want to consider joining the network of age-friendly states and communities. But I'm just going to kind of break it down for you. So a lot of the work that communities are doing across the state to become more age-friendly are based on these 8 domains of livability. So the first 3 that we have on the top are what we consider built environment features of your community. So this is a standard community development sort of window that we're looking through here. We're kind of dividing it up into different sectors, different features of the community. So outdoor spaces and buildings, that's one thing that we take a look at quite closely. A lot of communities are, with the community challenge grant programs and things like that, people are pursuing ways to improve their public spaces, their outdoor spaces like parks, their public facilities, things like that, making them more accessible, and just making them more, just a better piece of the community. We look at transportation and how that impacts older adults, so people 50 years and older. Oftentimes, mobility options are key to being able to age in place. So maybe you're unable to drive, or maybe you don't like to drive all the time as you age. So that's why it's important to have options like pedestrian-friendly streets, being able to bike around, and one of our favorites, being able to use public transit that is viable and a really good quality service for the community. Housing is another really important aspect of our built environments. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone is housed and they have access to safe and affordable housing, and housing options that suit your needs as you grow older. So maybe you're an empty nester now, and you don't need all the room, all the space that comes with a single family home. So maybe you would like to live on one half of a duplex, or maybe you'd like to live in a cottage home or something like that. We like to look at different aspects of housing, accessory dwelling units. We just recently, AARP Indiana put out a virtual program like this on accessory dwelling units. So we look at the whole scope of sort of priorities, that livability priorities, through the lenses of these domains. And then as you move down to the social environment, these are features in the community that we really examine, that are, not your hard infrastructure of your community. So things like your health services and your community supports, just making sure that you have access to home health care options that are affordable, making sure that you have options for home and community-based services to keep people in their homes where they want to be as long as they choose. We look at communication and information. So how are people accessing the information in the community to be able to live their best life, to be able to access all the different, being able to engage in civic, economic, and social aspects of our communities. So that takes a look at, like, how can we diversify the way we get information out, not just posting things online, but how can we use our libraries as a resource? How can we use different aging organizations as resources as well? Civic participation and employment. This is another really key aspect to the social environment of communities, ensuring that people have the opportunity to be able to not only vote, but to volunteer and to give back to their communities. As we know, when you're retired, you have more time on your hands, and you want to give back to your community. So being able to have opportunities for civic participation are critically important. And employment as well. I really shouldn't even have to talk about employment, but I will. Employment is critical to a community, especially for, like I said, retired adults who maybe want to have a part-time job, or maybe you're not ready to retire yet and you want to be able to continue to work. Making sure those employment opportunities are there. Respect and social inclusion. Really key, pretty self-explanatory, just making sure that people who are ages 50 years and older feel valued in the community, and there are opportunities to make sure people are included, that they're sitting on boards and commissions and things like that in the community to be able to make contribute to the social environment. And then social participation, that kind of goes hand in hand with respect and inclusion, making sure that there are opportunities for multi-generational social participation. So I'm going to advance to my next slide here to talk about the age-friendly community process. I want to check my time, okay, because our first guest will be joining us very soon. Just to revisit, here's a crash course on the process. So this is a 5-year process. It starts when a community enrolls into the network of age-friendly states and communities. And really what that takes is it takes executive leadership commitment. So if you're in a city, the executive leadership is a mayor. So the mayor will sign an application. They'll fill out an application. They'll sign the application. They will put forth a letter of commitment saying that they want to join the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities, and they are committed to doing the work in organizing a framework which will help the work thrive. And that includes forming an advisory council, which comes as basically step 2. That's the next thing you want to think about. And then you actually want to start doing the work. If you watched last time, I talked about how enrollment is the easy part. Once you enroll, that's when you really are able to dig into the issues that really affect you, your neighbors, your friends and family, and your community. So year 1, you conduct a community-wide survey to establish a baseline of quote-unquote age friendliness. So how age-friendly is the transportation in your community, the housing, the outdoor spaces, how do you feel about how older adults are respected and included in things in the community? So those 8 domains I just talked about, that's what the entire survey is based on. And then we recommend conducting some listening sessions, consulting experts to think about what's the story behind the data that our survey that we were able to glean from the survey. Then you move into year 2, creating an action plan. This is where you take all that great survey data, you take all the qualitative data you collected from listening sessions, and you put pen to paper and you draft goals. What we're doing now in Fort Wayne, what we're wrapping up, and we'll talk with Amy and Tim from Fort Wayne, is we are creating SMART goals. So drafting SMART goals that are very specific to them. They're attainable, they are relevant, and they are timely. So we have a deadline to when we want to accomplish that goal. So once you have I recommend once you have that list of SMART goals, that's when you really put your formal action plan together. And then years 3 through 5, you are going to be implementing your action plan. Again, this is another part of the process when the work really starts, and that's when we don't expect advisory councils to complete all of the work or implement all the work, but maybe help guide the work and help advocate for certain things within the work. You're probably going to be relying on a lot of community partners, the executive leadership, your city councils, all the decision makers in the community. You're going to be relying on a lot of different actors to make sure that these priorities are accomplished. And then year 5, you submit a progress report to AARP, the national office, and they will say, all right, great job. You're working towards becoming more age friendly. Continue on. So it's sort of a rolling 5-year process where you kind of go back and you tweak your action plan going forward. You might have to collect some additional information, and then you implement your program, throughout the years to come. So it's a really great process just to kind of get in the exercise of approaching issues in a different way, getting some of the smartest people in your community around a table to really tackle these issues, and it creates a nice formal template to do so. So as I mentioned today, we will be hearing from our friends at St. Joseph County. That's the first county in Indiana to become an age-friendly community or enter the network of states, age-friendly states and communities. Frank Frotia with St. Joseph County, they entered the network in January 2020. We'll be hearing from him first, ways that they were able to survey the community in 2020. They joined in January 2020. I know that everyone who's watching this knows that 2020 was a different year, so St. Joseph County really had to get creative in how they were reaching folks. So I'm interested in learning more about how they were able to contact their community members. And then my friends in Fort Wayne joined the network in 2019. We're going to be hearing from them on drafting those SMART goals and putting together an action plan. I look forward to hearing from Elwood, Indiana at some point, because we had some friends from Fishers on the first edition of this. If you haven't watched that, please go back and do so. I'm going to exit my screen now. And Dan, looks like we have Frank with us. No, we have Amy. Hey, Amy. Talk to Amy in a little bit. Hey, Frank, how's it going?
Good, Addison. How are you?
Good to be with you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so you are the Constituent Services Manager, correct? I got your title right? Okay,
yes, you did.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Frank was instrumental in getting getting St. Joseph County to become an age-friendly community. And I just kind of want to start off with the question of, what was your why? Why did you pursue this? I know Commissioner Fleming had a big piece in this as well, big responsibility in making this happen. So can you kind of just give us a brief history?
Absolutely. So Commissioner Fleming was first, I believe, introduced to the Age-Friendly Network in 2019, and she is very passionate about the portions of our community that are aging and making sure resources are available. At the time, her father was going through some health-related issues and needed to enter into an assisted living facility, and just trying to navigate that as well. Really, I think helped open her eyes. I know personally for me as well, my mother is in an assisted living facility too, and the first time people have to encounter going into a different type of housing situation or getting into dealing with some of elder care issues, it can be incredibly overwhelming, and trying to figure out what resources are available and getting people that help is something that was very important to Commissioner Fleming and to a lot of people within the community. So before we even applied, we hosted a meeting inviting all of the elected officials and people who work in the community with elderly populations and the aging population, to a meeting to discuss whether or not we felt this was a program that the county would be interested in pursuing. We had an overwhelming turnout to that meeting in 2019 in the fall. So we ended up then going through the application process. And as Addison said, in January of 2020, we were excited to officially join the network, especially since we were the first county. That is something that Commissioner Fleming takes a lot of pride in.
We do too.
Thank you. So then, of course, we got to work to setting up the survey, and of course, all of our plans, like everybody's plans that we had in January of 2020, were very quickly thrown out the window, and we had to adapt. So while originally we had planned to go out to do a lot of the surveys by paper, by getting out into the community in person, being able to meet one-on-one and talk with people, get to assisted living facilities and retirement communities, also community centers and other events that just bring out a lot of people, obviously that all changed. So we had to pivot to almost an entirely online presence. One thing, though, that we found very effective was we created a QR code that you could scan and put paper copies as well at the COVID vaccination clinic that the county ran. So while, anybody who's been vaccinated knows that after you get the shot, you have to wait 15 minutes at the facility. So, while you're sitting here for 15 minutes, if you happen to have a smartphone, can you sit there and fill out the survey, or would you like to fill out a paper copy? And we were able to get a lot of surveys done that way, especially since at the beginning, this was a captive audience of people who were, started with, I think, 70 and older and 65 and older. And then just as it was going, well, you have nothing else to do while you're here for 15 minutes. Why don't you fill out a survey and tell us about what you think about the community? So that was an incredibly easy way to get those surveys. We also put them at all of the county libraries as well. So once the libraries opened up, people who would be going to the libraries to get books or movies or whatever, just because, they were stuck at home and there weren't a whole lot of entertainment options. As soon as those libraries opened up, we were able to be out there as well. So while we were very disappointed we didn't get to go out and meet with people one-on-one, we wanted to make sure we conducted the survey in a way that was incredibly safe for everybody, especially since most of 2020 when we did not, or all of 2020 when we didn't have the vaccine, we wanted to not expose these at-risk populations who we were targeting with the survey to anything unnecessarily.
Yep. And that's incredibly creative, the way you thought about that. I love that strategy. And, we thank the advisory council up there for, not, considering that. Obviously, that's something that you don't want to put anyone in harm's way. So can we talk a little bit about who's on your steering committee? We don't need, proper nouns or anything like who is who, but what representatives do you have? Folks who are representing different industries, different issues?
So we have a couple elected officials. We have people who are administrators in skilled license facilities, so some nursing homes. We have a representative from the two different hospital networks that are in St. Joseph County, so the community outreach people at both Beacon and St. Joe. We have somebody from the Parks Department for the county, as well as Purdue Extension. Their educators as well are on that steering committee. Then we have a realtor who specializes in helping seniors transition to either smaller houses, condos, or sell their homes when it's time to move into some type of care facility. Also, we had somebody from La Casa, which is a minority outreach group, but they just retired.
Okay, great. Thanks for giving me a sense of who's on the committee, because I know, or advisory council committee, however you want to phrase it. I know that those folks were really helpful in getting out the survey too, right? They were sharing it through their networks. I remember being on a few meetings where it's if you have a listserv or a newsletter, please distribute it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. So, do you have any advice that you would give to other communities? Because the ideal audience for this program is folks who are considering joining the network. Do you have any best practices or advice that you would share for folks who are considering joining and then conducting the survey?
Well, I would definitely encourage any community to considering joining to go through the process. It has really helped open up dialogues amongst people who are typically siloed. Unfortunately, just the way government works, we all are very tunnel visioned and focused on what we do, and we don't often know everything that's out there in the community and what everybody's doing. And this program really allows for that cross collaboration and increase community awareness amongst all different groups about what everybody's doing, and really provides the table that people can sit down at to have those conversations. My advice is get creative with how you get the survey out there. If we can do a survey during COVID and everybody shut down, I mean, there are creative ways to get out there and do it, and don't get discouraged. We went for a long period where it seemed like we weren't getting very many at all, and it forced us to kind of think outside the box and figure out how to get those surveys out there. Just think of the ways people are meeting and where you can find them, and get out there and don't give up, because it did take us a little longer, but it definitely was worth it. We now have closed our survey and we're starting to analyze the results. So
all right,
excited.
Yeah, that is exciting. And one thing that popped into my head while you were saying that is I know Commissioner Fleming wrote basically like an LTE, just talking about the survey. So there's different ways you can use traditional media to kind of highlight, if you're doing a survey, or if you want to share information on your action plan. So
another thing that cities probably have the ability to do more so than the county does, we don't have municipal utilities. So we don't have a utility bill that goes to every single resident, but a lot of times community or cities probably will be sending out a municipal utility of some sort, and being able to put a flyer in there, or even a line on the bill that says, hey, go to this website and check it out, is,
that's smart. That's really great. Yeah, one of our volunteers in Fort Wayne has experience working with a 911 office who did that. So that is really helpful. Frank, so one last question for you. What are your plans for the survey results? I think we had a meeting recently where we talked about what the next steps are.
Sure. So we've just begun sort of analyzing these results. We're going to then pivot to doing some in-person listening sessions to communities that we felt were underrepresented in the survey, to make sure we can kind of round out that data and better understand what the data is telling us. And then we'll be sitting down as a steering committee and with the co-chairs that we've assigned to or volunteered to be leaders in each of the domains to prioritize some of the domains that we're going to be focusing on in the action plan moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's a lot of work taking that survey and putting it into actionable steps. So I know that you and the committee are committed to the process, and I look forward to seeing what happens next. So Frank, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you just jumping on and answering these questions for our audience, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks, Addison.
All right. Thanks so much. And Dan, do we have any questions from the audience, that our virtual audience? We do not. Okay. I just want to remind folks, if you're watching this live, feel free to throw those questions in the comment section. I now want to bring on my good friends from Fort Wayne, Amy Hartzog and Tim Brown, if he's available. Hey, how are you folks?
Great.
Good to see you. Oh yeah, Amy, I don't know if you're okay. So just really quickly, so Amy serves as the staff liaison for the Fort Wayne Age-Friendly Advisory Council. She's within the Greenways and Trails department, so she's a program manager there. And Tim Brown is an AARP Indiana volunteer, but also a businessman. I'll let you introduce yourself if that's sufficient. So yeah, if you want to comment.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Great to be here.
Good to have you both. So you both are, so Tim is sort of the chair. He's not sort of, he is the chair of the Age-Friendly Advisory Council. And he has sort of, him and Amy together have sort of led the work, throughout this process. We're about 2 years in about 2 years in at this point. And I just want to go back in time a little bit. Amy, I know you were there towards the very beginning. Can you just talk about like why Fort Wayne became or entered the network of age-friendly communities?
Quality of life is really important to Fort Wayne. And so what AARP has established with this age-friendly community just fell in line with our priorities of making sure that we're serving the residents of Fort Wayne. You know, there's a common phrase of 8 to 80. And if you can make the city comfortable for all of those ages, you're really serving a great population. And so it's a win-win for everybody. And this age-friendly program has just allowed us to look at our community through the AARP lens, and had the awesome expertise of Addison to help mentor us as we looked at just the different ways that we can make Fort Wayne more age-friendly.
And Addison, you worked really closely with Linda for,
yes,
I think, a few years getting this ready. Everything from, yes, the mayor and his team were interested in doing it, and then the survey was done even before the committee came together, if I recall.
That's correct. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Tim. So yeah, folks out there watching, so Fort Wayne is a little unique in the sense that we were able to conduct a survey prior to the community actually joining the network. So we were kind of chewing gum, walking and chewing gum at the same time with that. But I was so glad that it all came together in the end. I do want to talk a little bit about who sits on the steering committee, on the advisory council. Like I said, mentioned with Frank, you don't need to provide proper nouns or like who specifically, but what industries, what issues do these folks represent in the community? I know we have someone who used to work with the United Way, so like we know that they have experience there. Folks who have worked with Parkview, the hospital in Fort Wayne. Are there any others that you can highlight?
Well, if I take a look at you know, types of backgrounds, it really is a wonderfully diverse group. I mean, Amy's been amazing. You talked about Addison. Amy, you've been such a great support and a connector with everybody that we need in the city. I think that's a really key thing to start with. But we have folks that have spent their careers and volunteering in transportation, housing. You mentioned Parkview, healthcare. We have a pastor on the committee. We have a former county commissioner, a magazine editor, a marketing and communication expertise, and then someone who coordinates volunteering in the city of Fort Wayne. So really a nice mix of many backgrounds coming together, and people of we're all ages. To Amy's point, we are not just folks that are card-carrying members of AARP,
which we appreciate. But yeah, you're totally right. Like I know that Fort Wayne is one of the best examples that I can think of where you really took a good look at the domains and you were thinking who in the community is action-oriented and represents these domains, these issues, and just rattling those names off, Tim. It's really symbolic of the hard work that we did to really round out our committee.
Yeah, I mean, you and Linda really spent a lot of time on that, and Amy, I'm not sure where where you were getting involved in that as well, but that was a great way to go about it, a really great way to go about it, get all that
Absolutely.
representation. And now Linda, of course, Linda is our president of the state now, right? So
yes.
She Linda Dunno. So I keep calling her Linda, like everyone knows her. But she does, and she's done. She did a wonderful job with you on getting this kicked off.
Absolutely, she definitely did. And shout out to Linda Dunno, our state president of AARP Indiana. She's amazing. So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about where you are, where the Fort Wayne community is within the age-friendly process. So we're drafting the action plan now. We are putting together our goals. So how would you describe that experience has gone thus far? Like, what have been some really good things that we've gleaned from the process? What are some hiccups that we might want to, that you wish you could redo, or anything that you want to highlight and share with the audience?
Amy?
Well, I'm just looking at my notes on this. Yeah.
I have notes too, no worries.
It's been a great exercise going through the 8 domains and looking at, our community and how those 8 domains of livability apply to Fort Wayne, and where we, may have some shortcomings, and there's potential for growth. And then working with the whole council, we have our experts, which Linda was really instrumental in spearheading, and I don't know if Addison helped with that, but we looked for experts in the community that could help us with that inventory. And then as a council, after we'd gone through the 8 domains, we came together and said, well, what really rises to the top, which is very difficult to address, but we came together with our top priorities, and then we broke into subgroups. And the SMART goal worksheet, really, it seemed complex at first, but then after just taking some time and paper to pencil, we were able to work out some goals that made sense to us, and we're still fine-tuning that process. But it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Yes, it will. Tim, did you want to?
Well, it's just been a fabulous process, right? So we got started, and something happened in 2020. Something happened. And so we actually only missed, I think, a month, maybe 2, right in the beginning of the pandemic. We had plans to come together every month. And so, like everything else, we switched to virtual. And the team has just come together so beautifully. We allotted ourselves a couple of hours once a month to get together. And I know you were talking about, what eventually we'll talk about what we would suggest to other folks. I would say consistency of getting together, knowing the plan. You've been a great guide to keep us focused, Addison, on what those, first we started with the 8 domains. We figured out we couldn't work with all of them. We wanted to go with the top 3. We used some other places, I think it was Princeton and Philadelphia, as benchmarks, where they picked 3 or 4 domains to really focus on it first. Doesn't mean we won't touch them all. And we really, we looked at all of them to be able to determine those, as Amy said. And then we decided we'd have an umbrella of communication. So, because communication is so important. And we've always known from the moment the bylaws were written that we are here to advise. We're not going to be running, and there's so many great things happening already in not only our city, but I'm sure cities across the state that are listening to this. So it was really a great effort. Then we drilled down into what does it look like for each domain that we're focused on, and now we're ready to start putting the action plans together. So, you also asked were there any hiccups where we do things differently? I don't really know, because we just kept working, right? We just kept going forward and moving forward, and the team's been great to work with.
Yeah, I agree. I will say I've joined most of the meetings for those who don't know out there in our audience. And every meeting that I walk away from, there's always like forward momentum. Like there's always there's a next step leading to a next piece in this process. Amy, did you have any advice that you might want to share with the audience on, just putting together these goals?
Well, I just wanted to say if there's one thing that was challenging, it was COVID. And if we could do it all over again, it would be in a COVID-free world. But hopefully, other communities, as we move forward, won't have that big of a hurdle, because we've really come a long way with our online conferencing and made these connections more valuable than I thought they were worth pre-COVID. So we were, like Tim said, able to pick up and run with it via online conferencing, which works well, surprisingly. So that was all I wanted to add.
Yeah, all good points. All good points.
And when we all started it, it seems like look at us now. Look at how we do these things. But when we first started, it was like, wow, this is going to work. But we figured it out like everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of information at first. And I remember walking away from that first meeting where I think we were just kind of like, all right, where do we start? But we we got to it. I don't know what it's going to be like when we all get in the same room together again. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it.
We are all looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know. Just I'll leave you with this last question, and I know we're not quite there yet with implementing the action plan, but do we have any plans? Like, do you have anything that you'd want to share with the audience? Like, next steps once we have the draft goals in place. Is there anything you want to share, in maybe how we're planning on tackling those?
Yeah, there's certainly a schedule that you have. You know, this initial 5-year plan. We're gonna first draft them, and then we're gonna present them to the appropriate people in the mayor's office. And
Right.
The mayor's been very supportive, so I wouldn't be surprised if we'll be able to get a chance to chat with him as well.
Definitely.
As I thought about this one, first of all, make sure that you've got really solid structure. You've got people who are responsible for the taking of the notes, running of the meetings, following up. Have an executive committee. I think that's been really important for us, so that we can frame what we think the committee should be looking at. And so for us, I really feel like it's going to be a natural next step, Addison. We'll put together the action plans. We'll meet with the appropriate people in the mayor's office. We'll come alongside to advise. But there's some powerful folks, that have lots of experience within the community who are part of this. And I know that they'll be able to help direct and guide the goals that we put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. We have the right people around the table to be able to reach out to the appropriate community partners to be able to help implement. Whether they are within the city of Fort Wayne government, or like through Amy's networks, or through the health sector networks, or what have you. So I love those tidbits in there. Those are really good points on. I like the fact that we're going to be taking these goals and presenting them to the folks in the mayor's office and getting their feedback, because this is a group process, and ultimately it's something that the mayor signed off on, and we're looking forward to what he thinks of the goals, and we look forward to finalizing those. I know. Amy, did you want to add anything? I don't know if I left anything out there.
No, I guess with our council being an advisory council, that's something we have to kind of continue to look, think about when we're creating and shaping our goals, is that as we do shape these, we are going to need the help of many partners to accomplish it. And so it's just positioning ourselves properly, and hopefully in 5 years, we'll all look back on these great goals that we have made a lot of headway on. Maybe not, it may not be perfect, but hopefully they're accomplishable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, that SMART goal format is so critical, and kind of realizing what's achievable. What can we actually accomplish? Tim, Amy, I want to thank you both so much for joining me today. I know this has been in the works for a while, and I'm so glad that I was able to chat with you. So thanks for taking the time this morning.
Appreciate you as well, Addison. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
And we have an exec team meeting tomorrow.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it. Take care, all.
See y'all.
All right.